Hey everybody, it's me, Hulk. Hulk watched Wandavision. Hulk like Wandavision. Hulk sad no Wandavision till next Friday. But that's okay, because Hulk is going to talk about this week's Wandavision with Hulk's good friends. Why does Hulk always say Hulk? That's weird. Um, I'm actually like this because it's the Halloween episode, so I had to mask up. So this is my Halloween outfit. Here to talk with me about WandaVision today, as always, are my good friends Eric. How you doing?
Hello.
And Thomas. How you doing, Thomas?
What's up, friends?
What's up? All right, so we're here to talk about some WandaVision. Happy Halloween.
Halloween.
All new Halloween Spooktacular, I believe was the name of this episode. Yes.
That is true. And I honestly, this is the episode I've been waiting for since the trailers, because I love the fact that they're in their comic costumes and it's not like we found a way to do it that's not super weird.
Yeah, absolutely. I 100% agree with that. Eric, what about you?
Yeah, I've been waiting for this one as well. I was about to say the same thing. Like, I remember seeing these costumes in the trailer, and I was very excited. I didn't know that it was going to extend to Quicksilver and the kids as well, as we will get to in the recap.
Yeah, absolutely. That made me very, very happy. So yeah, I like this episode. I think I think it's very interesting. Let's just get into it. So first thing, and everybody's, spoilers. My mother said, "Son, why do you look like that?"
That's the same question I ask every time.
Are you going to leave that on the whole time, Maui?
I'm the Hulk.
Here's something, all right.
Okay.
Give me producer. Give me a single. Hi, Mom. Why don't you love your son? Accept me for who I am.
So what's the breakdown? What's the breakdown this week, Maui?
I have no fancy names this week because I was too busy at work today. I was trying to get some stuff done, so I don't have any fancy names. So, but we will go from the top, from the previously on, I would say. We get some interesting stuff. So we get the recap. One thing I loved is that they show the last time we see Pietro before WandaVision, which is in Age of Ultron when he gets killed.
I thought that was an interesting choice.
We see the Aaron Taylor Johnson of it all. I thought that was very interesting. We go right into opening credits, and this is their ode to Malcolm in the Middle. Let's call it Wanda in the Middle. I'll try and come up with them on the fly.
I think we'll help along the way.
Yes. So yeah, Wanda in the Middle. I love this opening sequence. It is, we're now in like the time period that, a lot of us grew up in, the alternative text, the edginess, the silliness, the irreverence. And Pietro is just perfect in it at the end of it. I just love all of the various and
I really think it's this specific Pietro. Like, I don't think Aaron Taylor Johnson's portrayal of Pietro would have fit so well into this style of to that irreverent 90s thing. You know what I mean? He seemed like much more adult.
Mm-hmm.
And like serious, whereas this version of Quicksilver is super casual and devil may care, and that I think is specifically kind of what they need to play against Wanda in this moment. You know what I mean? And he says as much later in the episode.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I really like Evan Peters as Quicksilver. I forgot how much I liked him as Quicksilver, and I think I might like this version even better than the Fox version, because in the Fox version he seemed a little just too silly and didn't care about anything all the time. I think that we find a happy medium in this interpretation of him. I liked his conversations with Wanda, which we'll get into later. But yeah, I really, really like this version of Quicksilver for sure, or Pietro. That opening, so we get that opening sequence, then we go right into the kids talking to camera, very Malcolm in the Middle.
Is that a Malcolm in the Middle device? Because I didn't watch a lot of it. So the into the camera thing to me is Modern Family, which I think is the next episode. Based on the
Modern Family for the next one.
I think the next episode, or at least one of the next 2 episodes, is Modern Family. That was obviously on the second half of the season promo.
Right.
So we've seen her. Yeah, there's a shot of
where she's just like doing a talk to camera.
Yeah, the camera like the Duffys. So is Malcolm is that a Malcolm in the Middle thing too, where he was on?
But it's a little bit different because like it's less mockumentary and it's more just like it's just a camera talking to them. No one else, to the POV characters, which are the twins. No one else talks to the camera.
Right.
That's kind of the difference, right? Whereas in Modern Family, everybody, or Parks and Rec, or The Office, everybody has these cut twos where they're doing their confessional scenes,
As if it's like a film crew that's doing a documentary about them.
Right. Yeah. But I do love that it kind of, they're talking about how they're excited for Halloween, and I always get the names confused. I'm going to say Speed and Wiccan. Speed is, kind of like the wisecracking one. Tommy, right? And then he's, and calling Billy a dork, and, Dorcasaurus
Rex.
So again, this is another Malcolm in the Middle question. Are the cutaways a Malcolm in the Middle convention as well?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And like the steady cam kind of following them around the room. Like I didn't see a lot of Malcolm in the Middle either, but I remember them kind of doing those kind of camera shots, and just in general, that being a technique that picked up a lot more in the 90s, because we're out of the era of like the stationary, sitcom camera on a set. It's like you're following people around, an actual environment now in this era.
Right. Yeah. And they do because they do the cutaway to them playing DDR, and then they cut back. Mm-hmm. So that's a thing that we did in Malcolm in the Middle as well.
Oh yeah. This is very much their ode to Malcolm in the Middle. I felt like all the way through. I was trying to think of like another thing they were referencing besides Malcolm in the Middle, but
the opening credits kind of reminded me of Friends at times, actually, like with the font that the Wandavision was written in, and just kind of like the fast like.
Font is like
shots of like the characters
in the middle. I think it is literally the Malcolm in the Middle font.
Well, yeah, it definitely reminded me of that as well. But I was picking up bits of just kind of 90s sitcoms in general from like just the style they were going for.
Oh, for sure, yeah. So then they have a fun little, chase scene with, where they're like, oh, I think Uncle Pietro might be a vampire, and he's messing around with them. They're running around the house. I thought that was super cute. And then we get Wanda coming down, and she's in just like her straight up like classic like comic book outfits of the Scarlet
cape, unitard cape,
headdress,
headdress thing.
And I love the, she's like, oh, I'm a Sokovian fortune teller. I thought that was really cute. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, we should also mention that before we see Wanda in costume, Billy Wiccan is in his costume from Young Avengers.
Yes. Wiccan is in his costume, which I think is amazing. I wonder what his costume is supposed to be. Is it like his riff on his mom? Like what? Like why does he have that outfit on? I wonder.
Maybe just like a sorcerer in general.
Yeah. Maybe he's kind of going for like a Doctor Strange.
Yeah.
Type of thing. But then he puts the head
what I thought.
Yeah, I loved that. Wanda comes down. Billy and Pietro don't have costumes on.
Tommy doesn't. costume.
Tommy.
You can mix them up.
You're gonna
Just use the code names. It's fine.
Speed and Wiccan. Speed and Wiccan. That's what I'm saying. So Speed and Pietro. He zooms them away, comes back, and they're both in Quicksilver outfits, which is super, super adorable. Even did the hair, like as a hairspray, does the hair.
Kind of spiky hair on the sides. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I love that whole sequence. Eric, what did you think of that whole like opening sequence?
I was just geeking out through this whole thing, just because the whole sequence was just such a like love letter to comics fans, and like just tossing in these little. I don't even know. Well, I guess they're Easter eggs. If you haven't read the comics, you wouldn't pick up on what these outfits are supposed to be. But like, I just really enjoyed that. I thought it was a lot of fun. And like seeing, like you were saying, like the classic Quicksilver, even to like the hairdo, I was like, oh, that's perfect. Only criticism I have is that I wish Speed's outfit had been in green. Look more like his Young Avengers look instead of just copying Uncle Pietro.
I think that's a Halloween bit. Like I think they went, he's gonna just dress as his uncle.
Yeah,
like he's putting on a costume. Because I don't think Wiccan ever says like what his costume is supposed to be.
Yeah, not really.
Yeah, not really.
He just asks Speed, like, what are you? And he's like, I'm the cool twin. And we never get like what his costume is supposed to be. And we kind of leave it by the wayside. We see that he's got a cape on, and therefore we know, okay, he's in costume.
Yeah, but it would have been nice to see like both of them in their outfits, just to get that imagery.
Yeah,
I think would have been nice. But yeah, we do get Wiccan in his outfit, which is cool. Thomas, what do you think of that opening sequence with Wanda and her brother?
It was cute, It was exactly, I think, what it was supposed to be. So what I'm finding so interesting thus far about the concept of what's going on is that every time the world resets, we only once literally saw the world within Westview reset with the transition from black and white to color. Other than that, like, we don't know what like morning and night look like, or like, dates, what it looks like when people go to sleep. Like, how does it work? Because when we go outside, it's moments after Wanda went back in. So like, we don't know how the day cycle moves. It seems like time is moving much quicker within the world than not. So I thought that was kind of an interesting to think about. And I got much more interested when Vision showed up. I'll be completely honest. I thought the beginning was, pretty standard sitcom fodder until Vision showed up. And
yes,
that's when immediately I was just like, oh, snap. How are we going to deal with the end of the last episode with Vision when Wanda or whomever is controlling this world clearly has, reset the, we've gone back to the beginning of an episode, and now do we have the knowledge from the last episode, or, whatever. So, yeah.
Yeah. I thought that was interesting. So Vision comes downstairs, and it's a tense moment for sure. It's like definitely a tense moment. And he's acting happy, but you can tell there's some tension between the two of them. And he's like, oh, I'm going out on, neighborhood watch patrol. And she's like, what? That's not what you're supposed to say. Like, she's mad because he's off script. Like, things are really uncomfortable. And Billy and Tommy are picking up on this. And then they talk to the camera like, something's wrong with mom and dad. Like, it's, oh man, there's so much here. And I don't know, Pietro, I don't know. I don't trust him.
Yeah.
Like, something seems weird about the way he's acting just throughout this entire episode. And I'm curious to hear what the two of you think on that. But it's interesting seeing once Vision comes downstairs, and I'd like to see, I'd like to see them together a bit more. We don't get a lot. Like, this is the only scene really that they're together, which is another, pretty interesting departure for us, because usually we see them as a unit.
Right.
And seeing them separating is tough.
I think that's on. I mean, it's definitely on purpose. It's definitely the way the stories being written. She is living in this fantasy world that, because he's a super intelligent android, like, he cannot do that. So it is, her actions are pushing them apart. He's going, if you're not going to be straight with me, I'm going to go get my own answers, which is what literally every superhero in the Marvel cinematic universe has ever done, ever. From Tony to, to Vision to Spider-Man. Like, when you don't get the answers from the people you trust, you go find them yourself.
Absolutely.
And so, we should also mention that Vision as well is in his classic comic book outfit at this point.
Yeah.
Which they explain away as, I believe they said he's supposed to be a luchador, like wrestler.
Yeah, luchador is what they went with.
And his classic outfit is basically just his movie outfit with less detail and much brighter primary colors.
Right.
Yes.
Which I always appreciated about the movie Vision is that it was super grounded, that, because there's no way we can make this cowl thing work in any way past 1963. Like, we can't do it.
I don't know if you guys follow the YouTube channel, the New Rock Stars. Eric Voss on there pointed out
breaking up a little bit, Maui. What did you say? What's it called?
Eric Voss on the New Rock Stars. Have you ever heard of him? It's a YouTube channel.
No, I haven't.
So he pointed out that all of the red is dialed up to like 11, so everything has a faint red halo around it, like at all times in the show, which I didn't really notice because it's very subtle, but there's like this red, just shimmery halo around everything. If you have a nice enough TV, right, you'll notice it. And I thought that was super interesting. It's like we can see Wanda's power just kind of infused on everything very, very subtly. I thought that was really cool.
I'm going to be looking for that now.
Yeah. I love how this filter, like, my head is just shining nonstop. It's ridiculous. So he leaves. They go.
Well, specifically, the moment is he says, "I'm gonna go do the neighborhood watch," and she stops herself. She catches herself and goes, "That's not what you're supposed. You didn't talk to me about it." So, like, it's one of those moments where Wanda is breaking out too, which happened less frequently than everybody else breaking out.
Well, because I think she's losing control over this. Because she's losing control over Vision. She's breaking character because things are not going the way she wants them to go.
Yeah.
Right, but I still think it's a bit of an unconscious thing because we get it later in the episode too when she's sitting down and talking to Pietro. When she fully confesses that she doesn't know what's going on. She doesn't know how it's happening. So I think this moment here is a bit of that foreshadowing of, like, Wanda is breaking free of whatever the sort of master control is here. Because she's going, you weren't supposed to do what, and then has to, like, catch herself.
Oh, see, I think she's completely conscious of everything at all times, and she's just playing a part. She knows she's playing.
Do you think even the conversation with Pietro at the end is acting?
Which conversation? Well, we'll talk about it when we get there.
Sure,
we'll revisit it.
Do that sometimes.
Yeah.
Because I'm not convinced that she's acting at all times. I think
not either.
That she may, like, maybe if she is playing a part, she's doing it so well that she's lying to herself. I think is what's happening.
Right. Yeah.
Could be.
Oh, it doesn't move. I wanted to like.
That's creepy.
Be sure to check out Falcon and the Winter Soldier, coming out as soon as WandaVision's over. We'll touch on that in a little bit when we get to that later conversation. First conversation that we see, they're out and trick or treating, and
I think we go back to the real world first.
Do we go back to the real world that fast? Yeah, you're right. You're right. We go back to the real world. Hayward is just fully confirmed asshole.
Yeah, right. I also found it funny that they've got guys in hazmat suits bringing the drone in, but then everybody else in the room is just standing there in their clothes. Like,
yeah.
But yeah, Haywood is confirmed as complete asshole.
Yep.
He's definitely going the stereotypical overzealous military stereotype in this episode.
And right away, Monica just digs into him you really cut us off at the legs out there. Like you really messed this whole thing up. And whereas he's seeming to take the stance that she doesn't have the stomach to do this, right? And this is the scene where he throws her being gone for 5 years in her face, right?
Yeah.
Well, he throws everybody being anybody who came back,
which I think you don't know what it was like,
right? Which is so interesting.
But it also gives us a little bit of perspective on what the people that were left behind went through.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
it's this competing trauma.
Yeah. It's we were barely holding stuff together and that hurt people thing,
Right.
I don't think he's flat out evil. I think he's doing what he honestly thinks is best. I just think he's wrong.
Yeah, absolutely. That's sort of, oh no, please, not that.
That doesn't work so well.
That was weird.
Yeah, because it was just a crotch coming at the camera. It's definitely a trope of military people. It's just a trope of military people where he's got his orders, and his orders are to protect everyone. So therefore, anybody who's a threat, that's the American military. Anybody who's a threat, you just take out the threat. You don't question the threat. You don't act. You just take it out. And then if the threat is eliminated, people are safe. Nobody cares how or why.
Right.
Where Monica, of course, is now going, now hold on. We're talking about trauma. We're talking about responses. We're talking about somebody who has given a lot to this country specifically and to the world, and has taken, and a lot has been taken from her. So we're of course, Monica being the voice of reason.
She also brings up the very valid point that they don't know what would happen if they take out Wanda.
Right.
Does that free everyone, or would they all die with her?
Right. Because they're all under her control. Right. Absolutely. Yeah.
That one didn't work either, Maui. That was like Doctor Strange was sitting on your lap, I think.
Just sitting on my lap. Yeah. Daddy vibes for sure. So yeah, it's interesting. But then that also, this also gets them kicked off the team, right? He said something that was so awful to her, when he said, I'm almost glad that your mom's not here, because she would
that
know
you weren't
that
here when your mom died.
Right. Yeah. That wording is so intentionally turning the knife. It's just needlessly cruel.
Oh, there was no call for that.
Yeah, that one was pretty deep. And so that so they get kicked out, but then they very easily beat up the couple people that are assigned to them, and just kind of go back to work, and no one really notices, even though there's clearly people in the background walking around.
I guess it's just it's always the trope of these sorts of things is grunts are just grunts, and they're never effective. If you're going to have grunts who are effective, they have to be super elite commando whatever. But dudes standing around with guns, you can take them out with a stiff breeze.
Yeah, absolutely.
What is it? What is that? What is that supposed to be?
No, what is that? Is it a sword?
I think it's supposed to be a sword, but it's just the hilt. That's weird. Anyway.
Yeah. Then we get back inside. Meanwhile,
I was just
you have something about this scene? You have something else about this scene?
Yeah, I was just going to say I appreciated that Darcy was like, "Why did no one tell me the plan?" Because she
that was really
not have any kind of military training to be taking out the minions. So it did as much as a cliche as the easily defeatable henchmen are. At least it was the military lady and the FBI agent who did it rather than the astrophysicist.
Right. Yeah. Man, craziness. That's not my one. That's the one. So all right, moving forward in the plot, we get
now we're trick or treating.
we're trick or treating. Pietro is just being a lunatic, and and while Wanda's talking to what is that guy's name?
Which one? Oh,
Herb.
Herb. Yeah, I think it was Herb.
Talking to Herb, and
if we're going chronologically, before we get to Herb, we have a lovely Easter egg in the sense that one, Pietro calls them devil spawn.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's a lovely throwaway. Like it could mean absolutely nothing, but knowing the Mephisto line for the comics,
yeah,
right. Now, to me, that's just. I think that they wrote that in there just to mess with us.
100%.
Because it's just a thing you call children. Like it's just a thing you call children. But because it has the double meaning, it cannot pay off, and it isn't like they said, multiverse, and then gave us Spider-Man Far From Home. You know what I mean? Like it's not. I'm not going to be mad if Mephisto doesn't show up because of this one throwaway line.
Yeah.
And then the second thing is that when Pietro takes them to go super speed trick-or-treating, right before they leave, he says, kick ass. And she goes, kick ass. And then we think now that that's a reference to the actual film Kick Ass that both Aaron Taylor Johnson
and Aaron Taylor Johnson were in. Yeah,
they both starred in.
The two Quicksilvers together. Yes.
Yeah, the two Quicksilvers together. And maybe that's Marvel making up for the missed opportunities of no thank you. Nope. No spider mouth. No Spider-Man mouth.
There you go. Bagman.
There you go. Amazing Bagman. Do you think that?
Oh yeah. I caught that reference immediately when they said that.
I think that's interesting. I think that's very interesting. But once again though, I think that's a thing that they just said just to mess with our heads.
Right. Well, no, I mean, it's not like Kick-Ass is going to appear in this series, as far as we know. It's just a little fun homage for the fans, which is what a lot of this episode was, I think.
Right.
Well, I think it's making up for the missed opportunity in Infinity War with no shit Sherlock. Like that's the kind of thing that's just fun. Now, I think earlier in that scene, we actually do have the moment where she goes, "Why do you look different?"
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Before they left the house, actually, yeah.
Is that before they
voiced that question?
Actually, yeah. Right? She does confront him on it.
I don't remember when that happens, but I know he gives a non-answer. He gives a lot of non-answers in this, which is interesting.
Yeah.
So that's something I think to track as this goes forward to see if we get answers on why, in fact, he looks different. Hopefully, they do explain that.
Oh, where they were outside. Yeah, I'm remembering the scene now. Yeah, this is this one.
I think here's the thing: is I think we get the answer later, and it's that he doesn't know.
That's not an answer.
That is his answer.
It's his answer, but it's not the answer. And hopefully,
I thought it was very interesting.
She's only asking him. She's not asking the writers. And Pietro he doesn't know. He doesn't have the answer.
Well, that's if he's actually Pietro.
Right.
We know he's an unreliable narrator and be Mephisto.
The very interesting thing about that scene to me was that he was not confused or confronted by the reality the way the other people trapped in the town were. He knows this is all fake.
He's completely aware. Mm-hmm.
He's aware that Wanda has created this world, and he seems to be totally cool with it. Right. So he's like, I don't know, I got shot, and then I woke up here. Like that's all he's saying.
Right. Yeah.
So he's fully aware of his true history, if he is in fact Pietro.
Yeah. And then we get this, the silly aside, the gag with she's talking to her, and he's like, "What's that? Someone's throwing toilet paper everywhere, and someone's stealing all the candy, and someone's doing this, someone's doing that." I thought that was really funny.
Yeah, it's always a good bit.
Meanwhile, with Vision,
Vision,
we get the Vision next, and we see him exploring the town. We're further out. I think he's further out than he's ever been within Westview.
And then we've ever been within Westview.
Mhm.
and we've ever been. And then we see this lady just trying to do this thing. She's like just stuck in a routine.
Trying to hang up a Halloween
A
decoration.
Halloween decoration.
Never quite gets there.
And yeah, just
Oh,
doing
wait,
this
don't you
nonstop.
Don't you
And
think
then-
hanging a Halloween decoration on Halloween is a little late? If you're going to do it, don't you do it a little earlier?
But
'Cause
then
on tomorrow.
The guy,
Thanksgiving.
well, yeah, the husband or whoever the guy behind her was also locked in like a repeating
Yeah.
sequence. I noticed he was like putting out like either like a jack-o'-lantern or a jar of candy. I couldn't quite tell.
right. But then we also see while she's doing this, completely emotionless, but a tear just going down her face. And for some reason, that was the most horrific thing I've seen in this entire show.
Yeah, it was pretty creepy.
It was very insane.
I will raise you the commercial when we get to it.
All right.
Up to this point. Oh my god.
Yeah, I was pretty disturbed by the tear. I was like, oh my god, these people are like not only trapped in this world, the ones at the edge of Westview apparently are just not important. They're background, they're scenery, and they cannot move or have any agency of their own. That's
it reminded me of the episode of the simulation episode of Rick and Morty, where Jerry's in his own simulation, but because they can't, he's operating on like 1% power, so everything's just on loops, and all the other characters in the world say the exact same lines over and over again. They glitch into trees. And I think that's exactly what we're meant to get from this, is that the further out we are from Wanda and Vision, the Wanda and Vision storyline within Westview, the more it is just set dressing.
Well, right, and we find that out in the next Vision scene. I think it really drives that home.
Yeah.
The further away from what is relevant to what's happening with Wanda, specifically Wanda, because if Vision's not with Wanda, then it doesn't assert, reality doesn't assert itself.
He's walking around and witnessing this, so he obviously has some measure of control.
Here's my question, because this is not the first time they've been separated, right? We go with him to work, and that seems to be part of the plot line. We go with him to the town. We go with him to the neighborhood watch meeting, and that seems to be part of the plot line. So my question is, what's Wanda doing? What does the world look like from Wanda's perspective when Vision is out at work and the plot line is with Vision? Like, what is Wanda doing? You know what I mean?
I would assume she's probably manipulating what's happening with him to make sure that that's happening. Would be my guess.
When the world in those first two episodes, when the world was a lot simpler and easier for her to control, that's my question. When Agnes left and Vision's still at work and Wanda's just chilling there, like, what is she doing?
Yeah.
Man,
it's really messed up. This whole thing is just a moral horribleness that's just I can't get over.
I think we go back to the real world then.
I think we get our second scene. I think they're in that like nondescript computer.
It's a server bank or something.
It's a server farm.
Yeah,
right.
Any operations like that is going to have a massive server farm because it's all got to be local.
And Darcy starts hacking because anybody who is into any sort of science, it doesn't matter what field it is in, is the most accomplished computer hacker on the planet.
That kind of rolled my eyes at that scene a little bit.
Trope that like
Banner's never hacked anything as far as we know,
but he could.
He clearly said time travel was not his thing, but like we know that Darcy works with electronically. You know what I mean?
But it's still
she can hack into sword servers. No, come on.
Yeah, it's
give
me a sec. Let me hack into the. Okay, I'm in. Like in like a few seconds. Like I was like, really?
Always governmental. I think the bigger trope is that the governmental systems are never secure, which is also like real world true. The amount of times I've heard stories about the government systems being hacked, and I'm like, how have we not fixed this yet?
Yeah,
I think it's weak. But that's okay.
I'm with you on that movie. I thought it was a little cliche.
Yeah. So
Oh God, that's terrifying.
I'm now Robert Downey Jr. This is a weird one. But yeah, so we get some interesting information updates here. We find out that Hayward has a way to kitties.
Excuse me one moment. The cats are knocking something over.
They're fine. We find out that Hayward has a way to track vision, which to me is pretty good confirmation that they were experimenting on him if they have a tracker on his body. Which tells me that, right, but that tells me that even though this was him saying like, oh, and she's like violating his living will, he didn't want to be made into a weapon, right? Like that was all bullshit. He didn't actually care about that because he was trying to turn it into a weapon, right?
Never thought he cared for a second.
Right. You know, it was just a useful thing to say in that moment for him.
Right.
We also find out in this scene that Monica's contact, her aerospace engineer, is just over the ridge. Just be here, you know, in like an hour or something. Still don't find out who that is. So I think that this is going to be a significant cameo because they've been holding back on who this person is. Haven't just said the name.
Do we think it's going to be a cameo or do we think it's going to be an introduction?
I don't know.
Could be either, yeah.
There's so many speculations about this character.
I think the major theory on the internet is that it's Reed Richards.
I hope not.
That would be an interesting.
I just don't know. I just think there's no evidence, right? Aerospace engineer is like super vague in terms of superhero stuff.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? It could be Riri Williams. You know, it could be a lot of people.
I'd be happier with Riri Williams. I think that would be a really cool way to introduce her. I don't think you do a character as big, but I don't think you do a character as big as Reed Richards in a random episode of one of the TV shows.
Yeah, right? I would agree.
Here's the thing. I think we have to start reframing our thinking about the fact that this is a TV show. It might be a TV show format, but it is the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
It is.
Yes, but like with how long
it's a weird way to take the steam out of like the introduction of the Fantastic Four.
Yeah, with how long it took them to get the rights back to the Fantastic Four, to, you know, like I feel like they would make a bigger thing about introducing them to that universe than just like a cameo on a TV show. But I don't know. That's just me.
I don't know. I mean, maybe it's what elevates the TV show is putting in one of their tentpole families, you know, or franchises in this TV show of within the Avengers, even within the MCU, two relatively minor MCU characters.
It's possible. We'll have to wait and see, I guess.
I'm super interested. There were some people that were like, it's Reed Richards because she says my guy, and I was like, people just use that term. It could be a woman, and she'd still say my guy.
Right.
Hello, Hawkeye.
For all we know.
But I think that's very interesting. But the other interesting piece of information we find out is when she's like, "Oh, go back in," and then Darcy's like, "No, you cannot go back in because apparently the reason Monica's scans were all off and all light is because going through the barrier to the hex twice is really scrambled her on a molecular level, cellular."
I think is how they're going to give her powers.
It could be. It could also be the conceit of how mutants enter, you know, this universe.
Possibly, yeah.
You know, it could. You know,
given that her scans were like bright white, as if it was, you know, like a burst of light, which is what Monica Rambeau's powers are in the comics. I feel like Wanda has either consciously or subconsciously bestowed Monica's abilities onto her,
right?
Which
but that
opens up a whole can of worms.
Changed the origins of certain powers within the MCU, and so, and who's to say that now Monica won't be a mutant? As opposed,
I mean, that's possible. It depends where they want to go with it. But my thought, though, with the reason that I feel that way, aside from the burst of light on the scan, is that they made a big thing about both Wanda and Captain Marvel's powers originating with one of the Infinity Stones. If Wanda can pass that energy to someone else, that could explain then how Monica Rambeau gets powers. I feel like that they were setting that up with that little exchange of dialogue in a previous episode.
Sure.
But yeah, so that's that. So I think that's a lot of very interesting information that I'm sure will pay dividends soon. We go back into the Hex after that. We go to, I think they're in the town square now.
Mm-hmm.
And
this is when we see the marquee
with a little Easter egg.
Marquee. This is the next big conversation with Wanda and Pietro. She questions why doesn't he have his accent. He says, "Why don't you have yours?"
Oh, yeah, we missed the bit where she is testing him.
Well, we also missed the commercial.
We did miss that.
That happened already? Oh wow, yeah.
The commercial happened earlier than I was expecting because I remember pausing and being like, "Oh wow, this came early."
Yeah, she is testing him, and they're like, "Oh, what was the name of that kid at the orphanage?"
Oh yeah,
and he's like, "You're testing me," and he doesn't answer.
But he doesn't answer, which is interesting. Let's rewind though, because we forgot about the crazy commercial. Claymation, very 90s.
90s, Capri Sun, like I was in my Saturday morning
Extreme Sports,
California Raisins. There's this kid stuck on his island, and a claymation shark with a surfboard, very, very 90s, shows up and is like, "Oh, you need some Yo Magic yogurt, right?" And then gives it to the kid, hops back in the water, and then the kid, this is where it's really messed up, can't open it. It's just fumbling with it, and then we're watching day and night, and then we watch this claymation kid shrivel and die and turn into a freaking skeleton. And then says Yo Magic,
the yogurt of survivors.
Yeah.
What the hell do you think that was?
I think this is Wanda's survivor guilt for not being able to save Pietro. She has all this magic. She survived the battle. Pietro did not. And now he's back, but now she's questioning, is this really him or not?
Right, and her survivor's guilt over Vision.
Yeah, that as well.
Guilt, but like she also killed him.
Right.
Like not only did she survive in the long run, but she's the one who killed him initially, saw him die again, was able to avenge his death, with the defeat of Thanos, but like, so I think.
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah, this is definitely, I think, her subconscious mind and dealing with, like wrestling with feelings of guilt over both of those deaths.
Yeah, I would say so. I didn't think of that, but I definitely agree with that. Yeah, it's a wild scene. That's a wild scene. So we're in the town square. They're talking. She's questioning him. Remember this thing? Why don't you have your accent?
Yours.
Right.
And real quick, we should mention the Easter egg on the marquee behind them. Two movies, The Incredibles and The Parent Trap. The Incredibles, of course, being about a family of superheroes, and The Parent Trap being about a pair of twins like Wanda and Pietro.
And then both movies are anachronisms. If Malcolm in the Middle is where we're living in the clear like early 90s, Parent Trap doesn't come out, or even mid 90s. Parent Trap doesn't come out till 98 or 99, and Incredibles wasn't until like 2004.
Well, in fairness, The Parent Trap was a remake of a movie from the 60s, so it could have been a re-release. But yeah, you're right about The Incredibles. That wouldn't have existed yet.
So it could be another one of those like control slipping moments where she's starting to, we're getting conflating time.
Oh, are we doing a crossover now, Maui? Are you a DC character?
DC versus Marvel. You vote on the outcome of who wins. Now break the window. So yeah, I think it's an interesting scene. I like I would say that it's probably just showing the fact that she is just pulling. This is just stuff pulling from her brain. It's not going to all be exactly right, especially as she's losing control.
Sorry, I can't. I can barely concentrate when your actual hands are coming out of the side of the Batman.
Oh, is that weird?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And of course, they're both Disney properties.
Right. Yeah, I like that they're both Disney properties. Also, someone pointed out that from the angle that it was when he's walking, you can't see the parent, so it just says the Incredible Trap.
Ooh, interesting.
Which is very interesting. Very interesting. So, yeah, could be anything. Could be anything. Who knows what is going on?
Multiple. Yeah, could have multiple meanings. Then yeah,
I like it.
But yes, so they're in the town square, and that's where we left off then.
Yeah.
I think we do a lot more cutting back and forth in between than I think we're giving it, because I think before they sit down and have the conversation where she's like, I don't know how I'm doing this, we actually come back to Vision.
Oh, we actually go back to Vision, and now we're really far out.
We are literally at the edge of town.
Yeah, and now people are just straight up just frozen.
Yeah,
just standing there, literal set dressing. That was
quite disturbing.
Super disturbing. Yeah, and I think at that point we get all the way to the edge of town. He goes a little bit further.
Ellis Road.
And lady to Ellis Road or Ellis Avenue. Ellis Avenue, I think.
Yeah. And I love his like costume transformation into full Vision.
Was really cool.
I was just like, yes, this is what I've been waiting for.
I love all the effects. Like we're getting like movie level effects,
right? And we're getting the aspect ratio changes are now happening so much more like subtly, as opposed to some of the other ones where it was like you watched it, go to. Well, it's a big difference between the like 16 by whatever and the 4:9 or
right. Yeah, like I was trying to watch it happen, but I didn't even pick up on it.
There were so many.
But after the fact, I was like, wait a minute. Wasn't the sitcom reality full screen, and then when we went outside of the hex, it was in letterbox suddenly.
Yeah, and then but then when Vision was there, and then Vision stuff was full screen. I loved it. I thought it was just so cool to watch.
So he gets to Ellis, and we know that this is because in the previous scene, one of the last things we hear is because Speed gets his speed powers, right? And then Wanda says to him, go have fun. And they're like, what, really? And he's like, yeah, and they're like, we know, don't go past Ellis Avenue. So obviously there's something she's drilled into their head already. You do not go there because that's the edge of the hex. And we now see Vision at the edge of the hex, and we're like, oh shit, he's there. And there's a single car just idling at a stop sign, and it's Agnes, and in the witch's outfit, just staring, and she's not responsive. He does the same thing he did to what's his name?
Her?
Can't remember his name.
Oh, no, Norm.
He's a normal guy.
Yeah, and wakes her up, pulls her out of the illusion, and I think this gives us confirmation that she is not who she says she is, or that she is not Agatha Harkness. Like, I think this kind of, I mean, she might be
the fan theory that was
not like, but she's not the
one in control. Yeah,
in control person. She was just like Norm, like, what the hell is going on? But she also gives Vision some very pertinent information that he did not know, because he doesn't know his life before Westview, that he's dead. She's like, you're an Avenger. Like, are you here to help us? Wait, am I dead? And he's like, why would you say that you're dead? She's like, because you're dead. And she's freaking out. She starts cackling maniacally like a witch.
Right. I forgot that, like, he didn't know things before, and he goes, what's an Avenger? And I was like, oh.
Yeah.
It was, it's crazy. It's crazy. Like, this is where things are really happening in a pretty fast click at this point, right? Yeah. That's not what I wanted. But it's it's too much for her. It seems that, like, taking them out just that quickly really does a number on somebody.
Yeah, because it did a number on Norm and it did a number on Agnes here.
Yeah, and then when she leaves and she's just like, it's like almost like a Ned Flanders type of goodbye. She's like, "Alrighty, neighbor," or something like that.
Yeah, because he had to put her back into the sitcom.
And whips a little U-turn and goes back into town. But clearly, the subconscious or the real person that is Agnes was trying to leave, was trying to get out, and the magic that is keeping them all there seems to be even more potent to humans at the barrier.
Yeah.
Right? Maui, you have laser vision.
Yeah, Superman.
I don't know how you did it. Oh,
no, WandaVision.
Now I have WandaVision. But yeah, so then and then I think he goes for the barrier.
He goes for the barrier. He goes to the barrier, but then we cut back and have a little further conversation with.
We get now we're at the point that I really wanted to talk about.
This is what we had mentioned before.
Yeah, and he's
before you get to that real quick though, there's one thing that I really thought was fascinating was a segment of this conversation where he's talking about all the moral stuff. This is the stuff that's been bugging me the whole time, right? He's just like, so what'd you do with the kids? You put them to sleep? Like, all that I thought was like very, very interesting. And he's like, hey, you did this as ethically as you possibly can.
Yeah, again, driving home the fact that Pietro, or whoever he is fully aware that this is a manufactured reality that Wanda is controlling.
Right. So, I just wanted to mention that real quick. All right, Tom, go.
That's where I was going to start, was that sort of thing. And so Pietro, again, is fully aware that the thing that where he is his sister's creation, and because it's his sister, and because he's all about her, isn't really questioning why or what. He's just there to support her. Right, like he, that's a very family thing. So many times you see in TV and film, families support each other regardless of what's going on. You've got parents or whatever in criminal proceedings, and they're like, "My son's a good boy." It's like, he killed 90 people. He's still a good boy. And that's where Pietro's living. But then we have the moment, and I think it's Elizabeth Olsen's best acting in this series so far, where she's like, I don't know. That whole I don't know how I'm doing this or what's happening monologue. I was sucked in. I loved it.
And so so
to make my point, I don't think Wanda is acting for Pietro's sake in this moment. I think this is a true vulnerable moment for her.
I don't think that she consciously knows that she did this, but I pretty firmly believe that it's her that did this. There might be someone else benefiting from it, but because what happens at the very end, I think definitely confirms that for me. So I don't know. But I could be wrong. I think
it's a thing. I think the end doesn't confirm it for me, because it's like a thing. She doesn't know how the thing works, but she knows how to use the thing. Mm-hmm. I don't know how a computer works, but I know how to use it. I don't know how I get your image on the screen, but if I know I plug the right cables into the right ports, I get your image on the screen. She doesn't know how she built the hex or how the hex was created, but she does know that she can control it.
Yeah, I kind of have been vacillating back and forth between whether Wanda is fully behind all of this and has created the hex, or if there is some sort of outside force, because
it's changing for me every episode.
Exactly. In our previous recaps, I was fully on board with your theory that you had from the start, Maui, that Wanda had created this. But the more we see of this alternate Pietro and how much he seems to know about what is going on, it's making me question. It's okay, is someone else behind this? Is someone manipulating Wanda into manipulating these other people? And for what purpose? It's raising more questions for me.
Looking at
I'm not as confident anymore.
Yeah, no, I'm less confident now, because there's just too much that we don't know.
Well, yeah.
And so it's hard to say. It's like there's too much that we don't know in terms of like, there's more pieces of the puzzle that we haven't seen yet. So these are my theories now, but as we go further, they change for me, right? Like when she said like, oh, I don't know, in the previous episode, that made me change my tune a bit, but in this episode, she says it again. I don't know if I believe her as much. Like, and then at the end, what happens at the end? I'm like, well, that's not just controlling what's in here. That's just controlling the entire thing. So,
and we should cover that scene now because I think we're running a bit low on time, right?
Yeah, there's so much packed into each episode. It's hard to keep these just.
So Vision goes for the barrier. That's kind of
Vision goes for the barrier. He goes through. This is where shit gets real crazy. Pushes through the barrier. We see him come out the other side, and the barrier does not want him to leave.
Mm-hmm. It's like pulling him back.
Literally pulling him back.
Yeah, and he's fighting it. Darcy runs out to see what's going on. Hayward is watching, and he's just like, "Oh wow!" Like, what does Hayward say? Does anybody remember his exact line?
Not the exact line, no, but like he was not helping him. He was like ready to like take him out as well if necessary.
Yeah, he's like, "Oh man, he really wants out, huh?" Or something like that.
Yeah, something like
that. He really wants out. Yeah. And they're ready to just sort of wait and let him come out, whereas Darcy can see that he's in pain.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and she's like, "What are you doing? Help him!" Like, he put him back in, like something. Like, us like, "Oh, this is messed up." And they're just watching, and then we cut back in. Now we're like cutting back and forth. We cut back in, and
Billy can sense that his dad. Billy is Wiccan. Magic one.
Too close.
Yeah, Billy can sense that his dad is in pain and in trouble.
Right. His power is manifest now, and he hears his father.
Stops his brother with magic.
Which is super cool. And then and Tommy's like, "Whoa, cool!" And goes tell they're gonna tell mom what's going on. We keep cutting back and forth. They tell her what's happening. She's like, "Focus, where is he?" And he's like, "Oh no, there's soldiers." And then she realizes he's not in the hex.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then she just like,
what's wrong? Well, what's wrong, sis? It's not like your dead husband can die twice.
Yeah. Again, driving home the fact that Pietro knows the true history and what is really going on.
Knows everything.
Whoever he is.
Wanda called for him and got this. Right? Like he's very clear that the reason he's here is because Wanda called for him.
And at one point, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
But then she like blasts him with the man.
I was gonna say, prior to that, for a brief moment in the town square scene, we see him riddled with bullets and dead. Like, she's questioning who he really is.
Like we saw.
We don't know, is that like the true Pietro showing through, or is this whoever he really is trying to manipulate her again and play on her emotions?
Yeah. That was wild. That was super wild. And then,
then she suddenly is extending the barrier of the hex in the final moments of the show.
Right. And then so she just stops everything. Everyone in the town freezes.
Mm-hmm.
Her eyes go bright red.
Scarlet.
And
Scarlet, of course. Yeah.
And then she expands the hex. And Hayward leaves Darcy handcuffed to one of the sword trucks.
Pretty messed up.
That's gonna be a war crime. Like that's a war crime right there.
Right. It was all self-preservation. He leaves with a couple other agents. Her and pretty much the rest of the camp.
People in the car.
Right. And then Jimmy and Monica, they're going to go meet the contact, so they're far enough away, but they see that they're like, "Oh, step on it," right? Hayward just barely gets away, as far as we can tell.
Mm-hmm.
Literally everybody else that was there are now clowns.
Absorbed they turn into characters within the sitcom reality.
Yeah, they turn into a
circus clowns.
Yeah, turn into a carnival, and then like the rows of cars turn into. It was a car dealership actually. It was just a car dealership turned into an old used car dealership. Right. And then they just barely.
The helicopter turns into a hot air balloon.
That was cool. I thought that was
really
awesome.
like that. I don't know why. I was like, that's nice.
Though there was a scene with two soldiers running, and they morph into two running clowns, and that freaked the hell out of me. I was like, no, thank you. Yeah.
But the end result of this is she saves Vision. It extends far enough.
As far as we know, I mean, we definitely see the smoldering stops.
Right.
Yeah, well, I didn't look at it in depth, but it looked like he was restored, not just like
I thought so.
Stopped. His body
I'll
looked.
have to rewatch it.
On a quick glance, his body looked whole again versus the disintegrated. Like he was missing fingers and stuff, and
that was a really disturbing scene. To see him fighting and trying to escape, that was really sad.
Yeah, I was actually kind of surprised. Like at first, I was questioning, like, if he steps outside of the barrier, is he going to die like instantly? Like, will he revert back to his old self? But then I remembered that the changes Wanda has made are seemingly permanent because Monica's clothes hadn't altered when she left the barrier. So, like, that kind of raises the question then, depending on how this show goes, is Vision going to be back for real? Or is he going to convince Wanda that he has to die to restore reality?
Oh, I think that's where it's heading.
Yeah.
No, I like him so much.
The thing is, I just wanted to raise the possibility, just because since these changes don't seem to fade with the barrier, there is that chance that Vision might stick around, depending on where the plot goes.
Right. Sorry.
And depending on the show,
I have to move to another meeting after this. So that's the episode. That's where it leaves off. Pretty great cliffhanger. Really good show. So ratings. Eric, let's start with you this week.
Oh goodness, I'm not good at ratings. I like this a lot, but as I said, it was raising a lot more questions for me rather than answering some of my previous ones. But so there was a balance for me between the questions and the frustration of not knowing what's happening, and then all the shout outs and Easter eggs for the fans. So I enjoyed it, but was also frustrated. So I would go like a 4.6, maybe 4.7. I don't know.
Okay. Thomas?
I'm going to go with a solid 4.5. I liked it more than the previous episode because Billy and Tommy were more interesting characters because of the nature of the television show. Because of the nature of the 90s show and the TV show. And because of Vision's detective sort of storyline. And then we got to see like real Vision, full caped Vision. It's giving. I think what I like about it is that I think it's giving us answers we don't know the question to yet.
Yeah.
I think it's giving us like information that by the end of this, we're going to be like, oh my God, that's exactly what was happening with Pietro and blah, blah, blah. And like how he knows all that stuff. Like, I think it's we're going to get like one nugget in episode 9 or whatever. And we're going to be like, oh my God, that's exactly what they were doing. But that only makes sense if you know this one crucial detail. It still isn't going to beat episode 4 for me because episode 4 still stands on its own as like a piece of TV an episode that you can watch and like get a whole storyline. But this is the first time that after the episode, I was like, give me the next one.
All right, I gotta rush you. I
was like, I want the next one.
I gotta rush you to close here. I will say, really good episode. I thought that it didn't quite hit the heights of 3, 4, and 5. Like each one of those at the end, I'm like, what? It didn't give me that, feeling as much, even though it does give me a pretty great cliffhanger. Not quite as to the heights of the last few episodes for me. I really like the dynamic though of Billy and Tommy. whichever one is named, whichever one. They're a lot of fun. I thought they had a really great, interesting dynamic, and I thought they did that like 90s vibe very well. I will say I felt like it's now more subtle, the changes in terms of like aspect ratio and resolution, because now we're getting closer to just where we are now. So that doesn't pop as much, but I'm probably lower on this. I'd probably give this one like a 3.8. This one. Yeah, I'll probably go a little bit lower on this one. But still a great entry in a great series. And I think we're now finishing the second act. And so now I think we're firmly going to be now in the final act, in the final arc of this, which is going to be fantastic.
We're in the end game now.
I was about to say that.
Gotcha.
Well done. So that was great. Real quick, T-Squiz, tell them where they can find you.
On Instagram and Twitter at T-Squiz, TSQUIZZ42, T-Squiz42.
All right, Eric, they can find you as Eric Lindbergh
on Facebook. Yep.
On the Facebook.
Or reach out to me through Reflect Media.
And you can find me at Reflect Media or Every Day with Ella, which is a TV show that we are developing right now through Reflect Media. So thank you, everybody, for watching. Tune in next week. Can't wait to cover more WandaVision. Bye-bye now.
Bye.